So let's talk about it. Mike Vrabel meets with Robert Kraft apparently in Chestnut Hill yesterday and not Foxborough. I mean,
in Boston, right?
Boston, which to me means RKK had him over for lunch.
I sort of wondered, was that kind of like, remember last year they took crap for having the interviews, the sham GM interviews in Boston, remember? So we're having this one in Boston too.
So you have Vrabel in. Apparently he left RKK's house without a contract and without an agreement, so they're going to talk to Ben Johnson today. And Aaron Glenn, who the Patriots just kind of tossed a request at 48 hours ago after everyone else had gotten an interview with him. Well, first, let's back up. Do you think they actually expected to meet with Aaron Glenn, or is that a backlash of public opinion?
Oh, I think it was a reaction to public opinion. I mean, like the timing of it.
That's atrocious.
The timing of it tells you that, doesn't it? I mean, I can tell you.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you said that because I thought that.
I can say factually that the slip went in Wednesday afternoon. So like factually, that's when it went in. Like when I reported it, it had basically just gone in, and that was 2 days, 2+ like over 48 hours after the initial.
After he had it, sit down interviews with all the other teams.
No, it's not after. So that hasn't started yet. But like the request went in 48 hours before or after the Patriots had put in a request with the same team for the other coordinator.
That's
so it's
crazy.
just. I mean, I think some people have gotten to Kraft about the way that this was all handled and how sloppy it was and how bad it looked and the tweet, and I think all that stuff like has sort of rightfully so, like he's gotten backlash for it. And I'm not talking about like people like me going on the air and saying stuff. Like I think people he's close to have called him and said what the hell are you doing?
Right.
So
that's
I don't know.
Funny though that you bring up the fact.
I don't know how this is going to impact the whole thing, but I would say like I thought it was a really bad look. Like I think it's another thing that they've screwed up. You know what I mean? Like, so put this in the bucket with everything else, and we can pin like the skirting of rules or the communication issues with Bill or with Mayo or whoever else you want to pin this. It keeps happening. So like and the sidestepping of the Rooney Rule. That's not the first time it's happened. It's the fourth time it's happened. Because if you look at it, right, so they didn't have to comply to the Rooney Rule with Mayo because of the thing in the contract.
And Rooney Rule dates back to
2004, I think.
Yeah.
So they've never had. They've. I mean, you could maybe,
20 years, let's call it.
I mean, like so. If you look at it, right. So the first one was in 03 or in 23 when they hire O'Brien and they bring in Adrian Clem and Keenan McCardell as sort of like, hey, like we're interviewing you for position coach roles. The Vikings were never going to let McCardell go. Adrian Clem wound up becoming their offensive line coach, so that was ostensibly an offensive line interview. Then last year, obviously, there was the Mayo thing, which yes, he's a black head coach, but they didn't have to comply with the rule because of the succession plan, which is sort of a loophole there or workaround. And then in May, they elevate Elliott Wolf, and they couldn't get anybody to come in because everybody knew the job was going to Elliott. So they bring in Brandon Hunt, who's the pro director in Philly, and then they bring in Samir Suleiman, who had just been fired as the cap guy in Carolina. Those guys were never getting the job.
Right.
So this is the fourth time. So my whole point on it...
But you could even go more than that. When you go back to guys like Patricia being here, when they don't get coordinator jobs, because the Rooney Rule applies to more than just head coaches and GMs, you still have to...
There was that. Well, that was the whole... I remember that's a good point too, Hardy, because that one when they hired Patricia and Judge was like...
You don't get the coordinator position, so we don't have to interview all these different candidates. We don't have a coordinator. Right. So we can hire whoever we want to be... a coaching assistant without going through the process, and who's the offensive coordinator? Well, we know who it is.
Yeah,
but we didn't have to do the whole process because we didn't name one.
It's like I look at it like, when do the rules apply to you? When are you going to comply? Because you can say what you want, like, oh yeah, that
when it suits what we want to do.
We know who we want. Okay, so you don't, like, no one else does? Like everybody else is just fumbling around? Like the other 31 teams have no clue all the other teams that are complying have no plan? Is that what you're saying? It's another example. it reeks of organizational arrogance, of the rules don't apply to us, of all of the things that we accused Bill Belichick and his people of for so many years is still here. So what does that tell you? I think that this is what they just went through should force people to take a hard look in the mirror. And you can get up there and say, yeah, that's on me. But are you actually reflecting on what went wrong? Are you actually going to look across the league at the way other teams do things? Are you actually going to ask these hard questions of yourself?
So there are questions that have been raised during this round of interviews and last year's round of interviews, the ones that took place in the for the GM at the C terminal at Logan Airport. You know what? We'll just meet you at the legal seafood there, right at the ticketing counter. They got
Vrabel at Terminal A. It's a little nicer now. It's the Delta Terminal.
Oh yeah. It is nice.
Nice and shiny. Yeah.
We'll go to the JetBlue play area. We'll just meet you down there for 15 minutes. You know, you can literally take the same plane back that you came in on and just turn around and go back. Just a quick turnaround.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.